You don't need to bring your laptop upstairs, Ms. Hart. Security will send it to HR. The guard's voice was calm, but the message hit like a punch. My badge had already been deactivated. Just hours earlier, I'd walked into the Meridian Group as lead event producer. Now I was locked out of everything with a subject line in my inbox. Termination, for cause. 3 months ago this job was my dream. Meridian was Denver's crown jewel of experiential marketing. Rooftop launches, immersive installations, press coverage in Adweek and Fast Company. When I signed my contract, HR Smarla told me, "You're about to be very busy." I was ready. My desk overlooked the Rockies. A note welcomed me about time. That was from Rowan Vale, the charismatic VP who had hired me. On day one he put me on Helix, a massive biotech product launch with a 7-figure budget and impossible timeline. From the start I pushed hard. Late nights, complex vendor wrangling, rewriting the keynote script until it gave goosebumps by slide 3, just like the client wanted. Laurel, Helix's VP of marketing, praised me in front of Rowan. "You did this. Don't let anyone rewrite that." But red flags appeared quickly. A mysterious $12,500 creative oversight fee in the budget, going to Rowan's private consulting company. Legal renaming penalties as acceleration incentives to pacify the client. And Rowan's insistence on removing my name from public credits to keep politics clean. I told myself it was just agency politics. I didn't want to rock the boat, not when we were so close to launch. The event itself was perfect. Guests cried during the opening. Social media exploded. But when the press coverage hit, Rowan was everywhere. I was nowhere. 2 weeks later, HR summoned me. They accused me of sharing a proprietary outline with an external party, my boyfriend Ian. I'd sent him the draft one night to get feedback on the flow. He wasn't a competitor, he was a jazz pianist. It didn't matter. I was fired on the spot. As I walked out, I couldn't shake the thought. Maybe this wasn't an accident. Maybe someone had pushed me out. I didn't cry in the elevator. I waited until I hit the sidewalk, then let it happen behind my sunglasses like Denver's spring wind had something to do with it. By the time I reached the corner, my phone buzzed. "Priya. Are you okay?" "No hello, just triage." "Define okay." "Don't text. Meet me at Harkness Coffee in 20, she said and hung up. Harkness sits under a paint-chipped awning on Wine Coop, the kind of place where the barista knows your order and your secrets. Priya arrived in a slate trench, hair twisted into a knot that meant business. She slid into the booth and pushed a napkin dispenser over the table like it could shield us. "They're saying for cause," I said. Kendra read it like scripture. Priya's mouth tightened. "Legal's been sharpening that clause for months. For me. For anyone who threatens the myth," she said. "Rowan's myth." I stared. "You think this was him?" "I think your email to Ian didn't land in HR by accident," she said, voice low. "And I think you were getting too much credit where it mattered." "I had no public credit," I said, and even I heard the bitterness. "You had Laurel." Priya's eyes flicked to the door and back. "She asked for you by name for Investor Day." Rowan heard it. "I was there." "What are you saying?" She leaned closer. "Rowan has a forwarding rule on key channels. Anything labeled narrative, keynote, outline. He set it up as archive for compliance. But I've seen emails hop to legal before they hop to us." "That's illegal," I said, and the word felt both too big and too small. "It's gray," she said. "Which is where he lives." "Why help me?" I asked. Priya shrugged. "Because you're the only person who ever asked if I ate dinner before sending me a 2 a.m. spreadsheet." She slid a flash drive across the table. Budget snapshots. Before and afters on Helix. Screenshots of the R/V consulting lines and the change order language shifts. "If you decide to fight, you'll need receipts." I stared at the tiny piece of metal like it might explode. "Priya, this could cost you your job." "Everything costs something," she said. "And I'm tired of paying in silence." She stood to leave, then paused. "One more thing. Check the Slack audit log. If they kept your account intact for litigation, your login history might still be visible. Look at who authenticated into your workspace from the admin side the night you emailed Ian." "How would I?" "Tatiana can pull it," Priya said. "She owes me 3 favors and a concert ticket." After she left, my Americano tasted like strategy. Ian met me that night at his piano studio. The room smelled like lemon oil and old wood, the good kind of history. He let me in, then locked the door like the day needed a boundary. "Tell me everything," he said. I did. The budget anomaly. The acceleration incentive. The vanished credits. The HR ambush. My email to him used as a dagger. He pressed his palms flat on the closed piano lid. "I should have pushed back," he said quietly. "When you sent me the outline. I should have said, 'Don't put this in writing.'" "This isn't on you," I said. "It's literally on me. My address. My name." He looked up. "If they come after me." "They won't," I said, even though fear had already sketched the outline. "But I need your help." "Tell me how." "I need a sworn statement that you didn't forward or share my email. And I need you to tell me exactly when you opened it." He nodded. "I can do that." He hesitated. "And Sylvie? If you want me to sit this out, if you think Rowan will use me to hurt you more, say the word." I shook my head. "He already used you. He doesn't get to keep you." Ian smiled, small but real. "Hey. Then let's make some noise in a language he doesn't understand." Tatiana met me the next afternoon in a park off Spear, a neutral zone full of joggers who weren't listening. She was in athleisure and sunglasses, a spy who also did Pilates. "5 minutes," she said, handing me a printout. Then this conversation never happened. Slack audit log admin view. 2 entries circled in red. 041. Admin access by Reval at Meridian. 046. Export initiated. Direct messages, selected users chart, say. The same window I'd sent Ian the outline. My throat went dry. He exported my DMs. And Priya's. "It shows as a keyword audit for compliance, if anyone asks," Tatiana said. "But the timing is pointed. Can they do that without notice?" "Company devices. Company systems. Company," she stopped. "You didn't hear that from me. Why are you helping?" I asked the same question I'd asked Priya. Tatiana's mouth ticked into a half smile. "Because 2 months ago, Rowan asked me to lose an old travel reimbursement trail from his consulting LLC that overlapped with Meridian expenses. I refused. He told me my attention to detail was admirable and unsustainable. I started backing things up." "You have the reimbursements?" She nodded at the printout in my hands. "Breadcrumbs everywhere if you know where to look." "You didn't hear that either." "Understood." She squeezed my wrist. "Be careful, Sylvie. He's good at making people look like problems he had to solve." Laurel picked up on the second ring. I was pacing my apartment, a legal pad in one hand, a bad idea in the other. "Is this a good time?" I asked. "For you?" "Yes," she said. "For my inbox?" "Never." "What's going on?" "They fired me," I said. "For cause." "They said I shared proprietary material with an external party." Silence snapped the line tight. "Is this about the outline?" My stomach dropped. "You know about that?" "Laurel," she said, as if reminding me of my own name. "I couldn't find your outline the morning after rehearsal. Kendra sent me a clean version and said there'd been a compliance incident. Then suddenly, all communication about Investor Day shifted to Rowan-only threads. Pass for you. Marla said you were no longer available." Heat climbed my neck. "I sent the outline to my boyfriend at midnight to ask if the cadence felt honest. He's a musician, not a marketer." "I don't care," Laurel said. "I care about the keynote that worked because it told the truth. And I care that someone weaponized your process to get you off my project." I exhaled a breath I didn't know I was holding. "I have budget snapshots, audit logs, and a timeline that suggests Rowan accessed and exported my DMs right after I sent that email. I think he sent it to legal to nail me to the wall and keep me off Investor Day." "Send me what you can," Laurel said. "Officially, I can't intervene in agency employment. Unofficially," she paused. "Unofficially, my CFO hates paying twice for the same brain. If Rowan's billing his LLC while Meridian's paying his salary, that's a problem." "I have line items," I said. R/V consulting. Creative oversight. "Email me from a personal account," she said. Subject line clarity. "Keep attachments under 5 megabytes. My GC will have a coronary if he sees this, but he'll thank me later." Why help me? I asked the day's refrain. Because good work should belong to the person who did it, she said simply. And because your opener made my board chair cry. By the end of the week, my living room looked like a conspiracy theorist's Pinterest board. Sticky notes with dates. Printouts with circles. A whiteboard with 3 columns. Motive means cover. Motive, investor day credit. Protecting the consulting gravy train. Control means admin access. Dim export. HR clause 7.2. Cover, compliance. Client protection. Company policy. Ian watched me connect lines with a dry erase marker. Are you building a case or a movie? Both, I said. I need enough to make HR flinch, enough to make Meridiancio worry about optics, and enough to make Helix ask questions they can't unask. He pointed to cover. What if he says you broke policy? You did send a document. I nodded. Then I show selective enforcement. I've got at least 3 examples of decks sent to external contractors pre-NDA, with legal's blessing because, timelines. I show retaliatory timing, how the export happened minutes after my email, how my removal from Investor Day followed Laurel's request, how the budget lines moved when credit got messy. And if they still dig in? Then I go to the people Rowan can't control. Press. Ian sat back, considering. You're not afraid. I'm terrified, I said. But fear's not a plan. He reached for my dry erase marker like it was a conductor's baton and added a 4th column. Allies. He wrote 4 names. Priya, Tatiana, Laurel, Ian. You forgot someone, he said and wrote Dax with a question mark. I frowned. Dax. He's blunt, Ian said. Blunt people are either liabilities or truth-tellers. Sometimes both. Dax answered my text with an address and 2 words. Back patio. The bar was on Colfax, the kind of place where the floor sticks in summer and nobody cares. He was already there, nursing a beer like it had personally offended him. I'm not here, he said without looking up. You're not here. We're talking about the Nuggets. Great game last night, I said dutifully and slid into the chair opposite. How long have you known Rowan was billing his LLC on Meridian projects? He huffed a laugh. Subtle. Subtle got me fired. He studied me. Priya talked to you? Tatiana too, I said. I have enough to make noise. I need enough to make fire. Dax scratched his jaw. Rowan never gets his hands dirty. He uses systems. Policies. People who like being near power. He tipped his bottle toward me. He didn't hate you. He hated that Laurel said your name like it belonged on a slide. I don't need him to like me. Good, Dax said. Because he won't like what happens next. He reached into his jacket and slid over a folded paper. Vendor rate sheets. My copies. Compare the dates to finance's invoices. You'll see how the numbers walk. I unfolded the paper. 2 columns, quoted and billed. The differences weren't rounding errors. They were choices. Kickbacks. I asked. Call them finder's fees, call them expedites, call them oversight, he said. They changed names like outfits. But the money moved to the same place. R/V Consulting. And once to a P.O. box that belongs to a company called Portico North, Dax added. Guess who's on that LC? I looked up. Kendra. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Why are you giving me this? I asked for the 5th time that week. Dax shrugged. Because I like sleeping. Because I watched you carry Helix on your back while Rowan took a bow. Because I can't stand it when the wrong people win. He drained his beer. And because I'm one HR email away from being not a cultural fit, myself. I tucked the paper into my bag. You should be careful. I'm always careful, he said. You be loud. By Sunday I had a plan. Not a perfect one. Perfect plans don't exist outside pitch decks. But a plan that leveraged the only thing agencies fear more than losing a client. Public embarrassment. Step 1. Send a concise dossier to Meridiancio. 3 pages tops. Attach the budget deltas, the audit log timestamps, the vendor rate sheet mismatches, the LLC overlaps. Label it informal notice. Potential compliance irregularities. TCHRN, this was the fun part, CC Laurel. Step 2. Send a separate client-friendly memo to Laurel titled Clarity, per her instruction. outlining the specific billing concerns that could expose Helix to double-charging optics. Keep it clean, unemotional, precise. Offer to walk her GC through the files. Step 3. If Meridian stonewalled or retaliated, package the story for a reporter who cares about creative industries and ethics. Not scorched earth gossip, documented malpractice wrapped in a narrative about why this matters. People care when stories have names and numbers. Ian read the drafts like charts. It's tight, he said. No adjectives you can't defend. That's the point. I closed my laptop and finally let my shoulders drop. Tomorrow, I set it all in motion. He came around the table and wrapped his arms around me from behind. Tomorrow, he said into my hair. And tonight. Tonight I sleep, I said. For the first time in days. I didn't sleep long. At 6:12 a.m. my phone lit up with a new email, subject line Informal notice, potential compliance irregularities. It wasn't from HR. It wasn't from the CEO. It was from Rowan. Let's talk, he'd written. Coffee at 9? Vesper. Off the record. The man who'd exported my DMs and fed me to legal wanted to meet in the bar where he celebrated my work without my name. Good, I thought, surprising myself with the steadiness of it. Let him buy the coffee. Then let him watch me light the match. Vesper looks different in daylight. Less velvet, more grout. At 9 on the dot, Rowan slid into the corner booth like the room had been saving him a seat. Black jacket, black t-shirt, a smile that had closed more deals than contracts ever did. He set his phone face down as if that made him trustworthy. Americano, he asked. I already paid, I said. Let's not confuse who owes who. He clocked the line, eyes narrowed, smile stayed. Straight to it then. He laced his fingers and leaned in. You sent a protected outline to an external party. Compliance acted. We regret how that felt. But it's done. I saw the audit log, I said. Admin access at 12:41 a.m. export of my DMs at 12:46. The same window I emailed Ian. Compliance didn't discover anything. You fished it and fed it to legal. Admin sweeps happen all the time, he said, tone casual, the kind used for weather and war. This isn't personal. It became personal when you billed r/v consulting while Meridian paid your salary, I said softly, sliding a single printed page across the table. And when acceleration fees turned into an invoice that made Helix look like it was paying penalties for your creative pivot. He didn't look at the paper. He looked at me, weighing how much of this was bluff. If you're building a case, he said, remember you broke policy. Courts are allergic to hypocrisy. I'm not in court, I said. Yet. A tiny muscle jumped in his cheek. He tried a different door. This industry is small, Sylvie. People talk. Or they don't, if there's nothing to say. He opened his leather folio and slid out a stapled packet. Mutual non-disparagement. A neutral reference letter. 6 months of severance. You sign, we all move on. On top was my name spelled correctly and a paragraph praising my calm under pressure and strategic clarity. It was infuriatingly good. He'd either drafted it months ago or done it this morning while brushing his teeth. You want me quiet, I said. I want you protected, he countered, not missing a beat. You think the internet will save you. It won't. It eats its own. This, finger tap on the packet, is how adults end stories. I took my time sipping coffee that had gone lukewarm. I'm curious, Rowan. When Laurel asked for me by name for Investor Day, did that feel like a story you wanted to end? Or just a credit line you couldn't control? For the first time, the smile thinned enough to show a sliver of what was underneath. Clients ask for a lot of things, he said. Our job is to give them what they need. And what you needed, I said, was me gone. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. I slid the packet back. Here's my counter. Meridian retracts for cause, pays the same severance, and acknowledges in writing that my removal from Helix Investor Day was unrelated to performance or compliance. You also unwind r/v consulting on all current scopes and disclose any LLC overlap, including Portico North, to your CFO by end of week. I get my credits. Or I go to your CEO with a tidy package of discrepancies, audit timestamps and vendor deltas. CC Helix. His laugh was honest and short. You think you can outmaneuver legal? I think your problem isn't legal, I said. It's Laurel. That landed. Not big enough to be an explosion, just a spark under dry leaves. We're done, he said, standing. Talk to HR. We already did, I said to his back. They'll be CC'd. He paused, half turn, half threat. Be careful who you decide to be in this town. I am, I said. That's the point. He left his coffee untouched. By noon my dossier hit 5 inboxes. Meridian CO, HR, Finance, Kendra, and PR Plan, Laurel. 3 pages. No adjectives I couldn't defend. Exhibits labeled, dates precise, tone cool. Informal notice, potential compliance irregularities. I sent Laurel a separate memo titled Clarity, stripped of agency drama, focused on client risk, double billing optics, undisclosed conflicts, change order language that misrepresented causation. Priya texted a single emoji, a flame. Tatiana followed with, CFO asked me for all vendor side letters in the last 12 months. You didn't hear it here. Dax, ever poetic. Hope you like popcorn. 3. My phone rang. Private number. I let it go to voicemail. 10 seconds later, a text from Laurel. Call me. No. I called. Your memo, she said without preamble. My GC read it twice. He hates you and loves you. I'll take the second one, I said. We're adding a clause to the master service agreement for Investor Day, she continued, moving like an attorney across ice. Full disclosure of third-party entanglements, no undisclosed consulting entities, and an explicit right to name individual leads on our work. If Meridian balks, we split the scope. Split how? We keep creative with Meridian if they concede credits and clean books. We move production to a separate vendor, someone we trust. Someone, like me, I said, heart tripping and then catching itself. If you're willing to work as an independent for a month, she said. We can paper it quickly. Clean. Above board. I won't do this if it makes you vulnerable. I'll get a lawyer, I said. But yes. 2 more things, she added. 1. Do not post about this. Let me work the contract. 2. Be ready. If I get pushback, it will be loud. I've been hearing loud, I said. I'm ready for precise. We hung up. I stared at the ceiling and laughed, the kind of release that turns into tears if you let it. Ian pulled me into a hug and let me laugh against his shoulder until it was safe to breathe. You did that, he said softly. We did, I said. Tomorrow I find counsel. And tonight I email a reporter. He pulled back. You're still going to press? As insurance, I said. If Meridian fixes it, the story never runs. But if they decide to torch me to keep the myth, I'm not going to that barbecue alone. He nodded once. Then let's draft something that's bulletproof. The journalist I chose wasn't the kind who lived on gossip. She covered the ethics of the attention economy, what happens behind the glossy launches. We'd never met, but I'd devoured her series on creative labor invisibility, the way some people read thrillers. Subject: background on agency billing practices and credit suppression, Denver. Body: crisp, factual, no vendetta, receipts attached with sensitive numbers masked. I asked for a call on background and said I was not looking to publish anything that would compromise an ongoing client event. I wanted context, not blood. She replied in 6 minutes. Curious. Ground rules: you're a source unnamed for now. I'll only move if, when there's a public interest angle beyond a personnel dispute. Then, also, Colorado is one-party consent. If anyone tries to clarify, off the record, you may record. Check with your counsel anyway. I stared at that line. My thumb hovered over Ian's contact, then over Dax's. I put the phone down. Recordings were grenades. Use them and you'd better be ready for the blast radius. HR reached out the next morning with a tone that tasted like lemon. Bright, acidic, trying to be clean. We've received your informal notice, the email read. We take all compliance concerns seriously. Please refrain from contacting client personnel while we review. I was still reading when a second email landed from the CEO's assistant. Can you join a call at 2 p.m.? Attached, an invite with too many recipients. POHR, Kendra, Finance. And Rowan. I accepted. Then I called a lawyer. Her name was Noelle Bram, quiet voice, steel core. She asked for the dossier, told me what she didn't know, and outlined the play she'd run. Keep your answers short, she said. Say, To the best of my recollection when appropriate. Don't offer adjectives. Don't agree to anything verbal. And if they try to make this about your email to your boyfriend, we pivot to selective enforcement and retaliatory timing. What about recording? I asked. Check your device laws, she said. And be ready to repeat on the record anything you'd be comfortable reading aloud in a deposition. Noel didn't need to be in the room to make me sit up straighter. At 1:58 I opened my laptop. The little circles pulsed into faces. The CEO looked older on Zoom than in press photos. Pleasant, tired, wearing the expression of a man who knew he was stepping into a kitchen where someone had left the burner on. Thank you for joining, Sylvie, he said. We'd like to understand your concerns. I stated them like I'd practiced. R/V consulting overlays, Portico North, budget deltas against vendor quotes, audit logs showing DM export timing, change order language that recharacterized penalties as accelerants. I kept my voice calm. Facts are often louder than shouting. Kendra went first, eyes cool. To clarify, any admin access executed in the course of compliance is permissible under company policy. As for the consulting entities, we'll need to investigate before drawing conclusions. Rowan smiled into his camera like we were at a holiday party. I think we're losing the plot, he said. Sylvie is a talented producer who made a serious error in judgment by sending sensitive materials to an unvetted external party. Compliance acted. We all regret the optics. The optics. I repeated. Or the timing? He didn't blink. Both. The CEO held up a hand. Let's stay focused. Kendra, finance. How quickly can we audit the vendor relationships in question? 72 hours, finance said. If Ops cooperates. Ops will cooperate, the CEO said almost to himself. Then to me, Sylvie, until we complete our review, I'm asking you not to contact Helix. I haven't, I said. Helix contacted me. That got everyone's attention. Excuse me, Kendra said. Laurel requested contractual changes on Investor Day, I said. Full disclosure of third-party entanglements and the right to name individual leads. She's considering splitting scope if necessary. She asked if I'd be willing to consult independently. I told her I'd take counsel before answering. Silence, blessed and terrible. Rowan broke first. This is exactly the kind of chaos your email created, he said, anger finally bleeding through the polish. You've put our most important client in a position where... I've put your most important client in a position to know what they're paying for, I said. And who? The CEO exhaled. We will address Helix, he said, voice suddenly years heavier. In the meantime, Sylvie, I'm reversing for cause, to without cause, effective immediately pending the outcome of our review. Kendra's head snapped toward him. That could be construed as an admission. It's an interim measure, he said. I won't have us exposed on a technicality while we sort this out. To me, we'll send amended paperwork by end of day. I nodded, not trusting the room with my relief. The call ended with the kind of brittle politeness that leaves fingerprints. My inbox chimed 12 times in a minute. Calendar updates, HR follow-ups, and all hands from the CEO about our commitment to integrity. Priya sent a screenshot of Slack exploding with vague platitudes. Dax texted a gif of a dumpster fire floating down a flooded street. Tatiana, ever practical, audit link live. Rowan locked out of admin for now. I stared at the message. For now. Ian appeared in the doorway with a glass of water and a look that lived somewhere between proud and worried. How bad? Bad enough to fix, I said. My hands were shaking. I put the water down before I wore it. Tomorrow Laurel sends the MSA addendum. If Meridian signs, I get my name back. If they don't, I become the production lead as an independent. And Rowan will try to set the building on fire on his way out, I said. So we need sprinklers. He smiled, small and fierce. What's a sprinkler in your world? Sunlight, I said. And the part where the right people say the quiet thing out loud. At midnight my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It buzzed again. Same number. Third time I picked up. Ms. Hart. The voice was low, controlled. Yes. This is not a threat, he said. It's a courtesy. Check your inbox. Subject line, Portico North, statement of work. Then ask yourself why Kendra needed a P.O. box. The line went dead. I opened my email. One message. No body text. Attachments. A single PDF. Portico North, SOBU Helix. Event acceleration. Scope language that mirrored the acceleration incentive. Signature blocks. Portico North Meridian Legal Liaison. The liaison line was blank. The date stamp was the week before Helix launch. I read it twice. Then a third time because sometimes your eyes lie when your brain wants to. On the last page, a scanned initials mark in the corner. This. Kendra Salazar. I sat back. The city outside my window was quiet in the way only mountains can teach a city to be. I forwarded the file to Noelle to Laurel's GC, to myself at an account no one knew I had. Then I printed 2 copies and put them in different drawers because my paranoia had finally earned a salary. I texted Priya. Question. If one were to search the legal drive for Portico, would one find a folder? She replied. One would find nothing. One would find everything in an archive Tatiana knows how to unspool. I sent Tatiana a single dot. She responded with a lock emoji and the words. Tomorrow. Bring coffee. Ian came to stand behind me, reading the top of the printout over my shoulder, his breath warm on my hairline. What is it? He asked. The fuse, I said, feeling the hum of fear and a colder, steadier current underneath it. Light it. Not yet. I slid the papers back into their hiding places. First, we make sure there's nowhere left for the smoke to go but up. Tatiana's apartment smelled faintly of solder and jasmine tea, 2 constants in her life no matter the day's chaos. She'd cleared the kitchen table for what looked like a one-person war room. Laptop, 2 drives, a half-empty cup of green tea gone cold. Coffee? I asked, setting down a to-go tray. He took it like a lifeline. Sit. And before you ask, yes, this is dangerous. And no, I don't care. We worked in near silence, save for the click of her keyboard. With a few lines of code and a password I knew wasn't sanctioned, she pulled up an archive labeled Legal Underhold Archive under 2022. Inside, a folder named Portico. Inside that, dozens of PDFs, email threads and scanned SOWs. Tatiana clicked one at random. This is from a launch in Seattle last year. Same play. Portico bills for oversight. Invoices paid within 48 hours. Line items buried in budget supplements. How much? I asked. She tapped her calculator. 52,000. I scanned through dates. Rowan wasn't on this project. She smirked. No. But Kendra was. Piece by piece, the pattern emerged. Portico acted as a shadow vendor, padding timelines and costs, disguised as client-facing adjustments. On Helix, it was the acceleration incentive. In Seattle, logistics optimization. In Austin, vendor liaison services. Every scope signed off by Kendra, none with full disclosure to the client. This, I said slowly, isn't just about Rowan. Tatiana nodded. He's flashy. She's the infrastructure. Take one out, the other limps. Take both. Meridian limps. And Helix panics, she added. Because they've been built under the same model. Which is why you need to move fast before this gets buried. Noelle took one look at the files and sat back like she'd been bracing for a smaller storm. This is fraud if you can show intent, she said. At minimum, it's a breach of client trust. And given Laurel's willingness to add contractual safeguards, you have leverage. So what's the move? I asked. We control the order of detonation, she said. First, we give Meridian CO one last private chance to clean house. You present the Portico files in a face-to-face in the presence of counsel, me, so they can't spin it as hearsay. We include your conditions. Reversal of for-cause, reinstated credits for Helix, a clean reference and written confirmation that both our/V Consulting and Portico are disclosed to all active clients. And if they refuse? Then Laurel gets the full package, Noelle said. And I call a contact at the Denver Business Journal who loves stories about corporate accountability. Press will bury me in the industry, I said. They'll also bury them, Noelle countered. And you'll have the moral high ground. The meeting happened in the CEO's corner office, floor-to-ceiling glass framing a Denver morning that was too perfect for the conversation ahead. Rowan was absent. Kendra was not. She sat 2 chairs down, legal pad closed, eyes steady but tight. Noelle began, sliding the Portico SOW across the table. This is a statement of work between Portico North and Helix, signed by Ms. Salazar, listing services materially similar to those covered by Meridian's primary contract. We have found multiple instances of similar scopes with other clients. The CEO's jaw worked once, twice. Kendra. She cleared her throat. Portico is an approved subcontractor. Not in the client's MSA, Noelle cut in. Not with full disclosure. And not with costs hidden in euphemistic line items. The CEO turned to me. What are you asking for? Kept my voice level. Reversal of my termination to without cause. Formal acknowledgement of my role on Helix, including public-facing credits. Removal of undisclosed entities from all active scopes, or full disclosure to clients. And a written commitment to billing transparency going forward. That's a lot, he said. It's less than a headline, I replied. Silence stretched, thick enough to measure. Finally he nodded once. Rowan is on leave pending review. Kendra, I'm placing you under internal audit. Sylvie, you'll have amended paperwork by week's end. Noelle's gaze didn't move from his. We'll need that in writing today. He didn't argue. By Thursday the amended termination letter arrived. Neutral language, 6 months severance, and a paragraph outlining my contribution to Helix. Laurel forwarded the updated MSA with a single note. Signed. See you at Investor Day. Priya sent a screenshot of Slack. R/V consulting channel archived. Tatiana texted a photo of her screen. Admin privileges removed. Raval at Meridian, Xalazer at Meridian. Dax's message was short. Popcorn's gone. Need champagne. Investor Day felt different. My badge now read independent consultant. My seat at the tech table had a nameplate. Laurel opened with the same story we'd crafted months ago. When the applause came she turned, caught my eye and mouthed thank you. Rowan wasn't there. Neither was Kendra. That night, back in my apartment, I poured 2 glasses of wine. Ian handed me one, the city lights spilling across our living room. You lit it, he said. And it burned exactly where it should, I said. I didn't get my old job back and I didn't want it. What I got was better. My name, my work, and the knowledge that the right people knew the truth. The industry would talk. And I wouldn't be silent in the back of the room again. Word travels fast in Denver's agency circuit. Within 2 weeks, Rowan's leave quietly became mutual separation. He resurfaced on LinkedIn with a vague post about new horizons and personal projects, but the comments were thin and polite in the way people get when they don't want to be associated. Kendra didn't get the same soft landing. Meridian's internal audit found 3 more clients billed through Portico without disclosure. Her profile vanished from the company site overnight. A rumor, unconfirmed but delicious, said her state bar license was now under review. Meridian, for its part, sent a carefully worded commitment to transparency email to all clients, along with a quiet refund to Helix. Laurel told me the CFO called it a goodwill gesture. She called it proof we made them sweat. Priya got a promotion. Tatiana kept her job and her admin powers, but now she answers directly to the CFO instead of legal. Dax left to tour with a friend's indie band, texting me a photo from the road with the caption, "Better load-ins, worse coffee." As for me, Investor Day was the last time I worked under the Meridian name. A week later, Laurel signed me on as an independent for another launch, this one in San Francisco. My calendar is full, my credits are visible, and my contracts now have clauses I wrote myself. Ian was right, this industry talks. Some people avoid me now, maybe afraid I'll bring trouble. Others pull me aside at events, lowering their voices to share their own stories about stolen credit, padded invoices, or bosses who build empires on other people's backs. And here's the truth. I listen to every single one. Not because I plan to turn them all into crusades, but because silence is where this kind of rot grows. The night before I left for San Francisco, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. No subject line, no signature, just a single sentence. They'll think twice before crossing you again. Maybe it was Rowan. Maybe Kendra. Maybe someone I'd never met. I didn't reply. I just closed my laptop, poured myself a glass of wine, and stood by the window watching the lights of the city I'd fought to stay visible in. This wasn't the dream job I thought I'd landed months ago. It was something better. the proof that I could survive the fire, and walk out holding the match.